By the time the warning letter showed up on the porch rail, I already knew this house could break a man if he let it. Rain hammered against the half-tarped roof of the sunroom like it had a personal grudge. It was the kind of rain that found every weak seam and turned it into a confession. It ran down open studs. It seeped into fresh joint compound. It pulled the sharp, chalky smell of wet plaster out of the walls and shoved it into my lungs. I was standing in that mess when I saw the envelope. White, thick paper, big red letters. Final notice. It was tucked under a brick on the porch rail, not in the mailbox. Not mailed, placed, like someone wanted it to be seen. I wiped my hands on my jeans and picked it up. I read it once, twice. Violation. Historical Society complaint. Stop work order threatened. Immediate inspection requested. I was still holding it when a car door slammed outside. Elena Hart stepped up onto the porch like she had walked out of another weather system. The rain hit her umbrella, but it did not touch her. Black high-waist trousers, simple white top under a dark raincoat. Hair pinned back with the kind of control that made people move around her without knowing why. Early 30s, all edges and calm. Her eyes were not on the old house. They were on me. She glanced at the envelope in my hand. "Tell me that is not what I think it is," she said. "It is what you think it is," I said. She exhaled once, tight, like it hurt. Then she set a paper cup of coffee on the porch, railing beside me, before she even asked if I wanted it. Steam rose into the cold air between us. That small act hit harder than the letter. "Caleb," she said, like my name mattered. I did not know they would escalate this fast. "They do not like seeing a 100-year-old house opened up," I said. "They do not like seeing me do it," she corrected. There was a flash of humor in her eyes that did not quite hide the strain. Headlights washed across the yard, bright in the storm. Another car pulled in. A woman stepped out with an umbrella held like a weapon. Mrs. Gable. I did not know her first name. In this town, she did not need one. She had posture, pearls, and an expression that said she had never forgiven anyone for being born after 1950. She walked up the steps without waiting to be invited. Her shoes missed every puddle like the water knew better. Her gaze slid over the exposed framing behind me, then to Elena, then to me. Her eyes sharpened like she had found a crack. "I am glad you are both here," she said, voice crisp. "This property is a registered heritage structure. There are rules. There is process." Elena's chin lifted a fraction. "Good morning to you too, Mrs. Gable." "Chairwoman Gable," she corrected. She held out a gloved hand. "Historical Society." "Elena Hart," Elena said. "Project lead." "Project lead," Mrs. Gable repeated. "At your age." Elena's smile stayed polished. "At my age, I have had enough time to learn what I am doing." Then those sharp eyes turned to me. "And you are Caleb," she said. I did not offer my last name. She had not earned it. Her gaze moved over my wet work shirt, tool belt, mud on my boots. Then it snagged on the edge of the tarp roof. "Who approved your structural plan?" she asked. "Elena did," I said. Her eyebrows rose. "A contractor taking instructions from a client." "From the person who was paying for it," Elena said, sweet but firm. Mrs. Gable's mouth tightened. "I will be requesting an immediate inspection." I held up the letter. "Looks like you already did." Her eyes flicked to the red stamp, then back to my face. "Safety and preservation," she said. "That is all this is." "Then we agree," Elena said. "We want the same thing." Mrs. Gable stepped closer, lowering her umbrella just enough that the rain beaded on the pearls at her throat. "If you want the same thing, you will not cut corners," she said. My jaw went tight. I do not cut corners. I go home sore because I do it right. Elena must have seen the change in my shoulders. Her hand brushed my elbow, quick and professional, but warm enough that I felt it. "We will not," she said. "We are not here to make it look good. We are here to make it safe." The rain kept pounding. The old house groaned. Somewhere in the back of my mind, another warning started to tap along with the storm. The electrical panel was older than both of us, old enough to fail at the worst possible time. "This place needs a new panel," I said, "like yesterday." Elena did not hesitate. "We will budget it." "No," a man's voice cut across the porch. We all turned. Richard Lane took the steps 2 at a time like the rain owed him an apology. Expensive coat. Perfect hair. The kind of smile that belonged on a billboard, never in a room where people told the truth. He stepped in close to Elena, close enough that the motion looked practiced. "Too expensive," he said, like the words were final. "Just make it look good." Elena's shoulder stayed squared, but I saw the small tightening in her throat. I set the letter down on the rail beside the coffee. "With respect, the panel is not cosmetic," I said. "If you run a big event on this system, you are asking for a blackout." Richard finally looked at me like he was noticing a stain on his shirt. "And you are?" he asked. "Caleb," I said, "the contractor keeping your roof from collapsing." "Great," he said, smile not reaching his eyes. "Then keep doing that. We have a gala in 3 weeks. Donors, press. If the house looks unfinished, the grant disappears." He turned to Mrs. Gable. "Chairwoman, always a pleasure." Elena's eyes cut to him. "You did not tell me you already spoke with her." "I did not have to," Richard said softly. "I am protecting the project." I looked past all of them at the open walls. I pictured uplights, sound system, catering warmers, coffee urns. I pictured old wiring heating like a fuse. "If you run an event on this electrical," I said, "it will fail. Maybe small, maybe big, but it will fail." Richard laughed once. "You are being dramatic." "I am being realistic," I said. He stepped closer. "We are not replacing the whole system because a contractor is nervous." "He is not nervous," Elena said. "He is competent." That last word hung there. It did something in my chest I did not expect. Mrs. Gable's eyes moved between Elena and me like she was watching the frame under the plaster, not the paint on top. Marcus showed up then, coming around the side of the house with his hood up and a box of fasteners under his arm. My right-hand man when I could afford him. Lean, quiet, sharp. He slowed when he saw the small crowd. "Morning," he said. "Beams are staged," he told me. "Rain is going to soak them if we do not move." I took one last look at the coffee on the rail, steam fighting the storm, and at the warning letter beside it. Then I slid the envelope into my jacket pocket like a challenge. "Let's work," I said. As I passed Elena, she spoke low. "Thank you for not backing down." "I am not backing down," I said. "I am just not going to let your house burn down for a photo op." Her eyes held mine for half a second, a beat, a promise. Then she turned away, that calm mask back in place. By noon, the rain eased up, but the house still smelled like wet plaster and chalk. Elena ran the site like a command post. Phone in one hand, schedule in the other. Richard trailed her, smiling at anyone with money. Mrs. Gable trailed all of us, looking for reasons to shut things down. She stopped under a temporary support and stared at the old beam above. "That beam original?" she asked. "No," I said. "It failed. We are replacing it with one rated for the span." "Rated by whom?" she pressed. "By math," I said. I kept my voice even. The next morning, the inspector came. He checked the shoring, our permits, the staged new beam. He did not find any shortcut to punish. Then he opened the panel closet. Old labels. Cloth-covered wire. Breakers packed too tight. "You can keep building," he told Elena, "but do not run a big event on this system. It is not designed for that load." Richard smiled like he had heard something else. "We will be fine," he said. I did not let it go. "A gala means warmers, sound, lights," I said. "That is load. This will trip, or worse." Richard's eyes hardened. "We have 3 weeks. Donors, press. If it looks unfinished, the grant disappears." "Safety is not optional," Elena said. She stood between us, calm and firm. Richard leaned closer to her. "Too expensive," he said again. "Just make it look good." I looked at the panel, then at her. "Put it in writing," I said. They both looked at me. If he refuses the upgrade, we document the warning, I said. Email, text, something, so when this thing fails, no one can pretend nobody knew. Elena's eyes narrowed with understanding. This was language she spoke. Risk, proof. These were things she could use. I will email it today, she said. Richard laughed, but there was less humor in it now. Sure, he said. Send your email. As the inspector left, Mrs. Gable watched all of us with that sharp gaze. Less vanity now, more consequence. Elena turned to me after they were gone. Wind pushed stray rain against the porch. Her hair had finally come loose a little, a dark strand falling near her cheek. You think it will really fail, she said. I think old systems act like old pride, I said. They hold until they do not, and when they go loud. She looked at me for a long beat, then nodded. Then we make sure when it happens, she said, the truth is on our side. The house creaked. The sky stayed heavy. The warning letter burned against my chest through my jacket. What I did not say out loud was this. I was already in this with her, older or not, town politics or not. And I was not going anywhere. 2 days later, the sky finally stopped trying to drown us, but the air was still cold and sharp. The house smelled like wet wood and old plaster, the way old places do after a storm. We had braced the opening, staged the new beam, and for once I had a quiet minute on the porch. I was sitting on the rail with my boots on the lower step, hands still dusty, staring at that warning letter folded in my jacket. I knew every word by now. The front door opened behind me. You eat? Elena asked. I turned. She was in dark jeans, boots, a simple sweater, hair pulled back in a low twist. Less meeting today, more on site. But she still carried herself like everyone in a 5-mile radius should report to her. She held a paper bag in one hand and a coffee in the other. She set the coffee on the railing beside me, right where she had put it the first day. I inhaled dust, I said. Does that count? Not if I want you to finish my house, she said. She opened the bag and handed me a warm plastic container. When I cracked the lid, the smell hit first. Hot basil, garlic, chili, steam rising into the cold air. Pad K-R-A pow, she said. Extra basil, no peanuts. I stared at her. How did you know that is what I order? I asked Marcus, she said. The way she said his name told me she had not flirted it out of him. She had earned it with competence and checklists. Across the yard, Marcus pretended not to hear. His mouth twitched like he was hiding a smile. I took the first bite and felt the heat spread down my throat and into my chest. For a second, the whole world shrank to the taste. This smells like a reason to live, I said. Elena relaxed a little. Good, I need you alive. She leaned one shoulder against the porch post, looking out at the yard. The house behind us creaked as the sun hit damp lumber. Mrs. Gable called me last night, she said. Let me guess, I said. She wants to review every change. She wants control, Elena said. She thinks I am going to ruin her precious heritage by existing in the same decade as Wi-Fi. She is not wrong to want proof, I said. She is wrong to use it like a weapon. Elena let out a small breath through her nose. She said, at my age, I should be more careful. I swallowed another bite and looked at her over the fork. Still think I am too young for you? I asked. Her mouth curved, but there was a tired ache behind it. I think you are too young to get dragged into my mess. I am already here, I said, and I have been in worse messes than a cranky society chair and a man who thinks money is a personality. Her gaze slid toward the driveway where Richard's car sat like it owned the gravel. I do not want you to be collateral, she said. Then do not treat me like I am fragile, I said. Her eyes came back to mine. She held my look for a long second. I do not, she said quietly. My phone buzzed. Marcus sent a text about delivery times. At the same time, Elena's phone buzzed too. She glanced at her screen. The line of her mouth tightened. Richard scheduled a site meeting with the caterer, she said. Tomorrow. My stomach dipped. Caterer meant warmers. Warmers meant more load on that old panel. I told him we cannot, she said. He said we have to. He told donors we are ready. I set the container down on the rail and wiped my fingers on a napkin. Then we documented, I said. She frowned. What do you mean? You already warned him about the panel, I said. You send him an email. Simple, clear. Electric is not designed for event load. Caleb advised upgrade. I recommend we delay or upgrade. Make him say no in writing. Her eyes sharpened. I could almost see the gears turn. You think like a man who has been blamed before, she said. That is because I have, I said. If this goes wrong, you need more than my word and a cranky inspector. You need a record. She stepped closer without seeming to notice. There was plastered dust on my forearm. She reached out and brushed it away with her thumb. It was a small touch, clean and careful, but it sent a line of heat up my arm. Then she seemed to realize what she was doing and pulled her hand back. I will send the email, she said. I will make sure he replies. He will reply, I said. Guys like him cannot resist riding their own rope. The day of the beam install came with cruel blue sky and a wind that cut right through my shirt. The laminated beam sat on sawhorses in the yard like a sleeping animal. Heavy, exact, no room for mistakes. This was the part of the job that made sense to me. Weight, leverage, math, no politics. Marcus and I checked the straps twice. We walked through the sequence again. Lift, carry, set, adjust. No hero moves, no shortcuts. Elena stood near the porch in a fitted coat, hair pinned back, phone in her hand but eyes on us. She watched like she was learning a new language and planned to speak it one day. Mrs. Gable arrived with 2 other society members. Both of them dressed like they were coming to a funeral for anything built after 1940. Be careful, she said as she stepped under the temporary shoring. This house has survived a lot. We are careful, I said. That is the whole point. I looked at Elena and gave her a small grin. If I drop this beam, your whole narrative changes. Her eyes sparked. Then do not drop it. Love the confidence, Marcus muttered. We moved as one, muscles tight, hands sure, boots steady on the wet ground. The beam rose off the sawhorses, then floated, inch by inch, toward the opening. Every step was measured. Every breath counted. When we set it onto the bearing points and felt it land with a solid, deep thud, the whole house seemed to relax. The temporary supports took the load for a second, then shared it. Elena let out a breath she did not know she was holding. Her shoulders dropped. Even Mrs. Gable's eyes softened, just a little. She did not say good job. She just gave a small, sharp nod. From her, that was almost a standing ovation. Richard showed up late, because of course he did. He stepped out of his car with the phone to his ear, laughing at something no one here had said. He ended the call as he reached the porch and looked up at the beam like it was a decoration. Nice, he said. Now the space will look impressive for the gala. I wiped sweat from my forehead with the back of my wrist. It is impressive because it will not fall, I said. His smile thinned, always with the drama. That is not drama, Elena said, moving to my side. That is competence. For a moment, something like anger flashed in his eyes before he smoothed it away. We have a caterer meeting in an hour, he said. Inside. We need to walk through the power needs. I turned to Elena. Did he answer your email? She lifted her phone and turned the screen toward me, not him. A short reply. 2 lines. Too expensive to upgrade now. Just make it look good for the gala. My jaw tightened. Over her shoulder, I saw Mrs. Gable's eyes narrow. What is this about? She asked. Electrical, Elena said calmly. Caleb believes the system cannot handle the gala load. Caleb believes a lot of things, Richard said with a laugh. And what do you believe, Mr. Caleb? Mrs. Gable asked me. I met her gaze. I believe old wiring behaves like old pride, I said. It holds until it does not, and when it fails in public. Her lips pressed into a hard line. Then why are you proceeding? She asked. Because I am not the decision maker, I said, and I let my eyes flick to Richard. But I am the one who will be here when it goes wrong. It will not, Richard said. It might, Elena said, sharp and clear. He turned to her, annoyed. We need this gala, Elena. Then we need it safe, she said. Mrs. Gable watched them both now, like she was finally seeing who was actually holding things together. If there is negligence, she said, the society will not be kind. For the first time, I saw a crack in Richard's smooth act, just a small one. The week before the gala, the house filled up with the kind of things that looked harmless until you did the math. Uplights, extra coffee machines, long strings of decorative bulbs, portable warmers, small sound system. Marcus stayed late with me almost every night, tightening loose connections, replacing what we could without opening every wall. One cold evening, I stepped out onto the porch to take a breath. The sky was dark. The windows of the house glowed warm behind me. Elena joined me, arms wrapped around herself inside a dark coat. Her cheeks were flushed from moving fast. Richard told the donors the electrical is fine, she said. He told them if I push upgrades, I am overreacting. Reality does not care what he tells donors, I said. She looked up at me. Her eyes were tired, but they were still sharp. I am not asking you to fight my battles, she said. I know how this looks. Older woman, younger contractor, town watching. I do not want to hand him a story he can twist. I am not worried about how it looks, I said. I am worried about this place failing under a load it cannot carry. She stared at me, searching, testing. Say the word and we keep it strictly professional, I said. No lines crossed, no mixed signals. Just work. Quote. Her hand caught the front of my shirt, light but sure. Do not stop, she said. She pulled me down. The kiss was quick and hard, more like impact than romance, but she kissed back like she had already made the decision days ago. The cold air disappeared. All I could feel was her mouth, her fingers, the fast beat of my own heart. When she broke away, her breath was tight but steady. This cannot become a story Richard controls, she said. It will not, I said, not if you keep choosing the truth. A throat cleared from the steps. Marcus. Chairwoman Gable's here, he said, and she brought a folder. That is never good. Elena straightened her coat. Her eyes stayed on mine for one beat longer. Back to work, she said. She walked inside, shoulders squared, head high. I watched her go and felt something settle in my chest. Not fear, not doubt, commitment. Chairwoman Gable did not show up with small talk. She showed up with a folder. She walked the foyer that afternoon with her coat still buttoned and that folder tucked under her arm like a verdict. She checked every restored trim, every plaster line, every support we had touched. Her heels clicked on the old floors like a metronome counting down. When she reached the panel closet, she stopped. Elena, she said, open this, please. Elena did. The old panel stared back at us, faded labels, tight breakers. My temporary notes taped to the inside of the door. I stood beside them, hands at my sides. If this system fails under event load, Mrs. Gable said, eyes on the panel, the society will not protect anyone who ignored a safety warning. I heard the warning, I said. From the inspector, from my own eyes, I put it in writing. Elena held up her phone, and I sent an email, she said. Richard replied. She showed the screen to me again, then to Mrs. Gable. Too expensive to upgrade now. Just make it look good for the gala. Something in Mrs. Gable's jaw locked. She closed the panel door. I will be present, she said. That was all. But it landed heavy. Gala night came with clear skies and cold air. The house glowed from the road like a promise. Warm light behind restored windows. Uplights washing the old siding in soft gold. Cars lined the street. People in suits and dresses walked up the steps with the slow pride of donors who liked being seen. Inside, the foyer shone. Polished wood, clean lines, art on the walls. The string quartet in the corner played something smooth and careful. Catering staff moved like a small army, rolling in heated trays, coffee urns, portable warmers, anything that pulled power. I wore a clean shirt that still made me look like a contractor. Marcus did too. We stayed near the back hallway by the panel closet. Not hiding, just ready. Elena stood near the main room in a deep green dress that fit her like it had been made for her alone. Her hair was pinned up with a few loose pieces that softened her sharp edges without taking them away. She looked calm, but I knew her tells now. The way she pressed her tongue to the back of her teeth when she was holding anger, the way her fingers flexed once when she wanted to take control. Richard moved through the crowd like a host in his own movie, shaking hands, laughing loudly, pointing at walls and beams like he had lifted them himself. Chairwoman Gable arrived right on time, black dress, pearls like armor. She did not raise her voice. She did not need to. People shifted when she walked by. Across the room, Elena's eyes met mine. It was not a romantic look. It was tactical, a check-in. You ready? I gave a small nod. Marcus leaned closer. You nervous? He asked. No, I said, but I am here. The caterers finished setting the warmers. The coffee station hummed. The small DJ set up in the side room tested a short piece of music and then dropped it. Every plug, every cord, every small light meant more load. The old panel behind me might as well have been breathing. Richard stepped up on a small platform at the front of the main room. He took the microphone with practiced ease. His smile turned bright. Tonight, he said, voice smooth over the speakers, we celebrate preservation, progress, and the community that made this transformation possible. The room applauded. Glass clinked. Somebody laughed. Elena stood near a column where she could see the whole room. Her hands were clasped in front of her. Chairwoman Gable stood on the other side, posture straight, eyes sharp. This project, Richard continued, will bring new life to an old treasure. We have taken something broken and made it. The lights flickered, just once, a quick blink, enough to make a few people murmur and look up. Every muscle in my body tightened. Marcus's eyes snapped to the panel closet. Mine did too. Richard paused, then laughed. Even the lights are excited, he said. The second flicker came with a soft popping sound from the hallway, like a tired breath giving up. Then the house dropped into darkness. Gasps rolled through the room. Someone knocked a glass over. A nervous laugh broke out and died fast. The only light came from exit signs and a few battery sconces that glowed a weak, steady red. The string quartet stopped mid-phrase. The sound system cut out. The hum of the warmers went quiet. In the sudden stillness, I heard my own heartbeat. Ladies and gentlemen, Richard called out, voice too loud without the mic. Just a minor. I was already moving. Marcus, I said, panel, now. We pushed through the crowd. People shifted without seeing us. In the half-dark, suits and dresses became shapes and whispers. We reached the closet. I opened the door. Heat rolled out. Not fire, not smoke, just heat coming off the tired metal. The main breaker was tripped. One of the bus bars looked darker than it had yesterday. Old neutral is hot, Marcus said, crouching and holding his hand close without touching. Too hot. Too much draw, I muttered. Too many things on one leg. Behind us, Elena's voice cut through the noise. What do you need? She asked. Space, I said, and someone to keep Richard from turning this into a speech. Her eyes flashed. Done. She turned and walked back into the main room. Straight toward the trouble. Chairwoman Gable stayed in the hallway, close enough to see everything. Her face was set. Unplug the warmers, I called to Marcus. All of them. Now. Use chafing dishes with fuel if they have them. Kill the coffee station. We keep only emergency outlets and a few lights. On it, Marcus said. He moved fast, weaving through the catering crew. His voice carried above the confusion. Pull the plugs. Cover the food. Use fuel cans, not cords. Now. A staffer started to argue. Marcus did not raise his voice. He just said it again in a tone that made people obey. I waited until he had cut enough load, then reset the main breaker. It clicked. Power surged. For 3 seconds, the lights came back. Then the breaker tripped again. I shut it off, swore under my breath, and ran a hand along the outside of the panel. Still warm, but less. We need to drop more, I said. Decorative lighting. kitchen extras. Anything, not life or safety. I flipped smaller breakers in sequence. Decorative lights off, kitchen extras off, sound system off, up lights off. Only basic hall lights and a few main room circuits stayed on. Try again, Marcus said. I reset the main. This time it held. Lights came back, softer and less dramatic. No up lights, no fancy glow. Just simple overhead light and a few sconces. Enough for people to see each other. Enough to be safe. The crowd let out a wave of relief and nervous laughter. The string quartet started playing again on their own. Real musicians knew how to steady a room. In that new light, I saw Elena standing near the front, face calm, eyes bright. She looked at me down the hallway. Our eyes met. She did not smile. She did not need to. She turned toward the guests. "I want to be honest with you," she said, voice clear without a microphone. "Tonight was not a random glitch. Caleb warned us this could happen. He advised an electrical upgrade. That advice was dismissed as too expensive." The room quieted in a new way. Donors turned to look at Richard, his jaw clenched. "Elena," he said under his breath. She did not look at him. "You saw the result," she said. "Not sabotage, not bad luck, neglect." A low murmur moved through the guests. The word hit. Chairwoman Gable stepped forward like she was stepping up to a bench. "I can confirm," she said. Her voice was not loud, but every person heard it. "I heard the warning myself. I read the email, and I watched Mr. Caleb and Mr. Marcus prevent a dangerous situation from becoming a disaster." All eyes shifted to me. I stood in the hall with plaster dust on my boots and sweat drying on the back of my neck. I did not wave, I did not take a bow, I just met their looks. "Neglect is not preservation," Mrs. Gable said, gaze returning to Richard. "The society will not put its name on a project that cares more about appearances than safety." Richard's smile looked cracked now. "You cannot do that," he said. "The grant." "I can," she said, "and I will." Elena finally looked at him. There was no fear in her eyes now, only clarity. "You wanted it to look good," she said. "From now on it will be safe, or it will be nothing." For the first time since I met him, Richard Lane looked small, not because I stood beside Elena, not because a beam dropped, because the truth had landed in front of everyone, and there was nowhere for it to go. The rest of the night did not go how Richard planned. The donors went back to their drinks and their careful conversations, but the mood was different now. The shine had a crack in it. People still smiled, but they looked at the walls and the lights with new eyes. They looked at me and Marcus too, like they finally understood who would get their hands dirty when things failed. I stayed near the panel closet for a while, watching the breakers, feeling the warmth with my hand every so often. The system held, but just barely. It was like an old man standing up out of respect and staying on his feet out of pride. When the string quartet started a slow piece and the talking got louder again, I stepped back from the closet. Elena found me in the hallway. She had not changed. Her hair was still pinned up, her dress still perfect, but some tight line in her shoulders was gone. Her eyes were tired and bright at the same time. "You okay?" I asked. "I am furious," she said. "Good," I said. "You should be." Her mouth twitched. "Also," she added, her voice softer, "I was scared." "Of the lights?" I asked. "Of losing this," she said. "Of losing you in this. Of watching you get punished for telling the truth." The words hit harder than the blackout. I lifted my hand and touched her jaw, gentle, my thumb just under her cheekbone. Her skin was warm from the crowded room. "You are not losing me," I said. "Not if you keep choosing the truth." Her fingers wrapped around my wrist. Just a small grip, but it steadied both of us. Footsteps clicked on the floor behind her. Chairwoman Gable appeared at the end of the hall, pearls catching the light from the emergency sconces. She walked toward us with that same measured pace, folder in hand. "Mr. Caleb," she said. I dropped my hand and straightened. "Yes, Chairwoman." "You were right," she said. I did not smile. I did not say, "I told you so." I just nodded once. "Yes, ma'am." She turned to Elena. "And you defended him publicly." Elena's chin lifted. Because he deserved it, she said, and because the truth deserved it. For a second, something almost like pride softened the older woman's face. The grant will proceed, she said. With conditions, quote. Richard's voice came from behind her, sharp and brittle. What conditions? He stepped closer, mask cracked, charm gone. Electrical upgrade, Chairwoman Gable said. Full structural verification, ongoing oversight. And your involvement, Mr. Lane, will end tonight. He laughed, a short sound with no humor. You cannot remove me. She looked him straight in the eye. Watch me. The hallway went very quiet. You told me to make it look good, Elena said, her voice level. You ignored safety warnings because they were inconvenient. He turned toward her, anger flaring. Do not twist this, Elena. She held up her phone. You did that yourself. On the screen was his reply, clear as ink. Too expensive to upgrade now. Just make it look good for the gala. Chairwoman Gable leaned forward to read it. Her eyes narrowed. The temperature in the hallway dropped a few degrees. That will be sufficient, she said. Mr. Lane, if you remain, you will do so as a guest only. The society will not accept your direction moving forward. Richard looked from her to Elena to me, his hands balled into fists at his sides. I saw the moment he realized he could not charm or bully his way out of this one. He turned, shoulders stiff, and walked back into the crowd. People still greeted him. He smiled at them, but it looked thin now, like a costume slipping at the seams. Marcus exhaled from where he leaned against the wall. Finally, he muttered. Chairwoman Gable glanced at him. Thank you for keeping people back from the panel, she said. Marcus blinked. Yes, ma'am. Do not make me regret the compliment, she said. He nodded, a little stunned. I bit back a smile. She looked at both of us one last time. You work with care, she said to me. This time, I let myself smile, just a little. That is the job, I said. She left the hallway and went back to the party, her presence dropping over the room like a gavel. After the gala wound down and the last car pulled away, the house was quiet again. No music, no donors, just late-night air and the tick of cooling pipes. We turned off the remaining lights. I checked the panel one more time. The heat was down. The system had survived one more night. Go home, Marcus said as he grabbed his jacket. Sleep. Tomorrow we start planning that upgrade she just forced. Yes, sir, I said. He snorted. See you in the morning, kid. He left through the side door. I stepped out onto the front porch. The sky was clear and full of stars. The house looked softer without all the extra lighting. Just a real place, breathing in the dark. Elena joined me a minute later. She had changed out of the green dress into jeans and a sweatshirt. Her hair was down now, dark waves over her shoulders. She looked younger and older at the same time. How does it feel? I asked. Like the house exhaled, she said. Like I did. We stood side by side, hands on the porch rail looking out at the road. Thank you, she said, for everything, for the beam, for the panel, for not letting me lie to myself about him. I shrugged, but my chest felt tight. I just did my job, I said. She turned her head. No, she said softly. You did more than that. She reached into her pocket and pulled out a small ring of keys. They clinked in her palm. These are for you, she said. I looked at them. What are they? Gate, basement, panel closet, side door, she said. You are not just the guy the first call when something breaks. You are part of this now, officially. The metal felt heavy when she dropped them into my hand. Heavy in a good way. Responsibility, trust, something more. You sure? I asked. She smiled. Not polished. Not for anyone else. Just for me. I am sure, she said. The next morning, the house was almost peaceful. Sunlight slid through clean glass and painted long lines across sanded floors. Dust motes floated in the beams of light like lazy ghosts. Marcus held the ladder while I carried the new sign up. Simple metal. Fresh paint. Clean black letters. Heart House Restoration. I lined it up above the porch, checked it with a small level, and drove the screws into the old wood. Each turn of the drill felt like a period at the end of a long, messy sentence. When I climbed down, Elena was standing at the bottom of the steps with a coffee in her hand. Chairwoman Gable stood a few feet behind her in a simple coat and low heels, folder tucked under her arm. "It looks right," Elena said, looking up at the sign. "It will look better when we swap that panel," I said. "You will," Chairwoman Gable said. It was not a question. "The grant paperwork is ready. The society will sign this afternoon, on the condition that the electrical upgrade is completed before any future event." "Yes, Chairwoman," I said. She studied me for a long second. Then she nodded once. "Good." Her eyes dropped to my hand, where Elena's fingers had slipped into mine without me realizing when. She looked away on purpose, giving us a piece of privacy. "I will see you both at the signing," she said. She turned and walked down the path toward her car. Elena squeezed my hand. "You hear that?" she asked. "I heard," I said. She smiled up at the sign again. "You are still too young for me," she said, voice light, eyes warm. I looked at her, then at the house, then at the keys in my pocket. "I do not feel young," I said. "I feel useful." She turned fully toward me. "That is not all you are, Caleb." She took my hand and pressed it gently against her chest, just over her heartbeat. No big speech, no drama, just proof, warmth, life. My fingers curled there. The old house creaked behind us. The new sign swung a little in the morning wind. Somewhere down the street, a truck passed. It all felt simple and big at the same time. "Love does not check birth certificates," I said. "It checks what you do when the lights go out." She held my gaze. Then she nodded once. "Then stay," she said. I did not answer with words. I stepped in closer and straightened the collar of her coat. I bent and kissed her forehead, slow and sure, my free hand still holding hers. Her shoulders relaxed against me. Marcus cleared his throat from the ladder. "If you two are done being a movie," he said, "we have wire to pull." Elena laughed, bright and easy. It sounded like something the house had been waiting years to hear. Chairwoman Gable was almost at her car. She glanced back once. The corner of her mouth turned up in the smallest hint of a smile. For the first time since the warning letter landed under that brick, this place did not feel like a fight I had to win. It felt like work I wanted to do. It felt like home.